Hey, so it's Michael here. Just wanted to show you the inside of a 03, 04, 05, 06, 07 Ford F350 PCM for the 6 liter. This particular PCM failed. Long story, but let's just say I knew it failed because you could smell a burning smell out of this connector. That's first connector is the one that goes to the cab. And so, being me, I wanted to see what the inside looked like, see if there was something I could see that was actually burnt that might be replaceable. So here we go. I peeled this open. It's basically some kind of adhesive silicone around the perimeter. You got to peel it up. Don't try to get it up off the connectors. You can't because unfortunately the light's poor. But what they did is they rolled the aluminum down around this connector, so you can see, if you look carefully, you can kind of see it goes down in there. You can't get that off. Then once I got it open, you will see inside of here some holes where there were screws. So right over there's one there, here, and another one over in this corner. And so I thought, okay, that's great. Maybe I can lift this board out and see the underside of it. And no, it wouldn't move. So along the edges, they've glued it in there, along the left side there, as you can see. And then what they did was, if you look at this from the end, you see that little step in the casing. So the board sits on top of that step, and then where it drops down, where that hole is, that's where it has room for all the caps and whatever else is in there. And so what they did was they put glue underneath this board and glued it to that step. So when you try to lift this board, you just can't lift it. I am going to try a little harder, not because I think I can save this board, but because I want to see if I can get it out. It's just something that bugs me. I want to see if I can do it. So I drilled this little hole only as a small pry area to try to lift the edge of the board to see if it would lift, and it wouldn't. It flexed a little bit, but I was being very careful. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply some gasket remover on the sides, but I'm going to do one side at a time, and I'm going to tilt this up a little bit like this so it doesn't roll in. I want it to stay along the edge and soften that, and then I'll wait, and then I'll tip it this way and pick up all the liquid, dry it up with some Q-tips or whatever, and then I'm going to do the other side like that, same idea, and see if I can loosen off the adhesive they used. And they also glued it along this edge right here. So that one's easy. I can actually get right through it, and I don't think it's too bad underneath. But anyway, for anybody who's interested to see the inside of one of these, this is what it looks like. The older IDMs, the injector driver modules on the 7.3s and stuff like that, you can open those up and repair them. And the FICMs, obviously, they do those all the time. But I can see why you never see these being repaired. They say they repair them, but they're not opening these up. That I just don't think they are. Maybe they are, but I don't believe they are. I think that's why I see so many of them just being new and reflashed, or old ones or whatever. What's interesting about these darn modules is I've got a list. This is my module number, and there are what feels like hundreds, but I would say there's certainly dozens. And this number here on the left here, for example, DP2 252A, it varies. What looks like is the 04s seem to start with 4, and the 03s seem to start with 3, and the 05s with 5, because I have a 5 PCM, an 05 PCM, and it is starts with a 5. I'm guessing, just seems like that's the case. The other thing that I've noticed is when I started researching these a little bit is that they use different amounts of memory in these. So I was told one's an oak and then another one's a different one. I can't remember what it was anymore. It really doesn't make too much of a difference. But apparently slightly faster processor and more memory. So anyways, those are some of the things I found so far. Now for other questions that people have, and I don't have 100% certainty on this, but we've just done some testing. An 03/04 6-liter PCM seems to start the 05, 6, 7 series engines. But what we found, and at least what I found, is I've got an 05 PCM in my truck right now with an 04.5 FICM, and it starts, no problem. But my cluster does not show RPM, it does not show engine temperature, and it doesn't show transmission temperature. And so when I scan my truck, the PCM is getting those values. I can see my transmission temperature moving. I can see my engine temperature moving. So my FICM, or sorry, my OBD2 scanner, it's an Auto Ingenuity, can see those values. So I know at least that the engine is feeding them to the PCM, the 05 PCM on my sorry, I'm not trying to make this not confusing. I have an 04.5 FICM and 05 PCM in it right now with an 06 engine in an 04.5 chassis. So basically, it's a modern engine, modern PCM with an older FICM, and I do believe it to be the 7-pin FICM on the late 04.5s. So that's the combination I'm running right now. My goal is to buy in 04 PCM and see if my dash cluster comes back to life. And I realize it won't be perfect by serial number and all that, but if all that works, then that's fine, because I shouldn't have any other issues. Another thing to note is that when I connect to my current PCM, which is an 05 PCM, I understand in 05 there was a change to the CAN network, and that's how my unit connects. And also, I believe 04.5 probably has the CAN network, and then possibly before that is when the language was different in the early 04s and 03s. So anyway, those are some of the things I've learned about these PCMs. I'm hoping this will help somebody just understand a little bit about what I've learned. There's certainly a lot to learn. One of the other things I learned as I was trying to diagnose my cluster, and some of you may or may not know this, but if you turn the ignition on while you're holding the odometer reset, your trip odometer, it will set the cluster into basically a diagnostic mode. And they say it'll sweep the needles. Mine didn't sweep the needles right away, but as I started kept pressing the odometer reset button, it went through and cycled a ton of different codes, which you can look up. And I gotta say, I wrote down probably at least 20 different numbers. And you can see like literally temperature on my cluster from the engine. So my cluster is getting that information, but it's not displaying it on the needles. But my needles all swept. Weird stuff. I'm working on it. I'm hoping to make another video. I know these trucks have been around a long time, but clearly when I search, no one appears to have ever opened one of these up that I can find anywhere. And the whole PCM, FICM / whatever, that question seems to come up a lot, and there's not a lot of definitive answers. And so again, I'm trying to get some of that together so it maybe helps somebody in my situation from having to pin out a million little plugs and stuff to see what's going on. All right. Anyway, that's a very long video, but I'm hoping it will help somebody save a bunch of time. Thanks.